This interview is inspired from the TEDx talk, How Unicorns Wind Up in Straitjackets. Hello, and welcome to another episode of How Unicorns Get Out of a Straitjacket. Today, I have a very, very exciting guest all the way from Australia joining us, and which is to say, very talented people who are in a career for them that doesn't serve them and how they get out of this. So, if you're considering a career change, stay tuned. Hi, Jayne. Welcome to How Unicorns Get Out of a Straitjacket. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi, so I'm Jayne, and yes, I definitely am, I was a unicorn in a straitjacket for sure. Um, I'm just going to jump straight into actually letting you know how I got into my straitjacket was that I didn't know what I wanted to do. So
Right.
I was one of those, multi-passionate people that had many different skill sets, and I had no idea how or what to do with my life. And so I just went after a career that looked like it would be semi-easy and that I would get a lot of money out of.
Nothing wrong with that.
And eventually it was no longer enough. At some point, you definitely realize that there is so much more to life than material things, and you need to work out why you actually here on this earth, because it's probably not it.
So tell us, what do you do now?
So I am a mum, and I'm the founder of Monti&Me, a Montessori Playset business that just launched in the last 6 months.
Woohoo! I love that.
Woo.
Exciting.
It
And
is. It's very exciting.
what was your career change? Where were you before? Where did you end up? And
Where
then
did I end up? So I used to sell soft drinks, and now I advocate for early learning. So it's a massive step change from where I was. I spent 10 years in marketing in all sorts of fast moving consumer goods companies, um, essentially selling soft drinks, and before that, alcohol. So I feel like, in a way, my progression has gotten from less ideal to more ideal over time.
it seems like a journey. Alcohol to soft drinks to places.
To places. Exactly. Well, I felt bad about selling people things they didn't need when I was in alcohol. And
Right.
I was like, I'm literally making the world a worse place, where I knew that I wanted to make the world a better place. So, we moved from alcoholic to non-alcoholic, and then we moved all the way out.
I love that. I always say people change careers for three reasons. It's usually to to fulfill their purpose, to fit in with their lifestyle, or to get more money. And it seems like all of those came into play at some point. So that's really interesting to hear that. Wow. And why was it important for you to move, like emotionally and psychologically? What was going on for you whilst you were in this place of not being sure that you were in the right career?
Um, I think for as long as I've been alive, really, I've always wanted to make the world a better place. And I've always felt really torn between wanting to be in the non-for-profit world or doing something that really made a difference, and then being able to have a comfortable lifestyle. And so I always had this internal tension around, well, what do I do? Because I can either earn no money and then make the world better, or I can earn money and then use that money to hopefully make the world better, was kind of the way that I sort of thought about it.
Right.
So yeah, that was really, I guess that was the main thing, just wanting to make the world a better place.
I love that. So I think we've touched on it, but talking about the TEDx talk now, what are the first step? What were some of the clues for you in your childhood, or what was your natural path to wealth that made you think, actually, I would be great for this, or I was born to do this?
So it's pretty funny. I've always known I wanted to run my own business, but I never knew like doing what, like the what was always missing for me. And so I've kind of spent my whole career building skills in the how and doing things as passion projects that are had like now enable me to do it, but like the what was always missing. And I just never felt like I just couldn't find, I just didn't know, like I didn't know why, like why would I want to do something? I just didn't know. It was just a big question mark, and I couldn't like envisage my life or doing anything in a specific way. So it was just always very fuzzy. But looking back in my childhood, I always loved learning. I used to spend time in the library all the time, like always preferred books to people. Just was naturally really interested in why the world was the way it was, and like why people were the way that they were, but never wanted to go into psychology because I thought, well, I don't want other people's problems like to be my problems. I have too much empathy for that. So that was never an option either. But like looking back, I did all these. But yeah, so that was kind of the clue, I think, was just learning, wanting to make the world better, and just almost like seeing the potential in things. I've always enjoyed pulling the dots together, like seeing like, oh, if you tweaked this you could get this result, or like why are you actually doing that? And so it's all kind of, it's all pulled together now.
Absolutely. And you said that connecting the dots, coming back, what were the dots for you in step 2 of your natural skills plus your experience, your hobbies, lifestyle? How did it all fit into founding Monti&Me?
Yeah, so it's quite funny. So when I look back, and you can never, I don't know, maybe never, but for me personally, you can't see forward, but then you can see the breadcrumbs when you look back.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. And even how, like for me, working in marketing for 10 years, what I enjoyed most about marketing was the human psychology and the conditioning behind why people buy the things that they buy. So for me, I've always been interested in that, but found myself in a place where I was utilizing that knowledge like almost for not the wrong way, but you know what I mean? Like, I was using it in a certain way. Yeah. Whereas now I've kind of just almost flipped it around, and now I'm like, well, okay, so if people buy what they buy because of their conditioning, and they are the way that they are because of their conditioning, how do we like step all the way back to the root cause and like let's do something there? Like that's where I can make the most impact. And so that's how Monti&Me came about.
Wow. So in application to it, I'm dying to hear a bit more about Monti&Me. So how do you apply all of this in Monti&Me?
It's a great question. I guess in many ways, like so for anyone who's not familiar with Montessori, I won't get into the detail, but the whole premise is essentially not that humans, you don't need to, it's not learning things, it's learning how to learn.
Okay.
It's a terrible, anyone who is actually interested in Montessori will hate that I've just described it like that. But yeah, it's essentially tapping into children's natural inclination to learn. And that's completely the opposite way to how Western education is set up. And that's super interesting. So I've definitely found my niche in almost like wanting to make the world better. For me, Montessori is a very efficient route to that. And then utilizing like creativity and the way of seeing how you can do things in a better way. Like for me, this is just an easy solution that people can like do, basically. You have to learn how to parent anyway. So I'm like, why wouldn't you want to learn what the research says is the most efficient and gets the best outcome that we all want? I don't know. Why wouldn't you?
So in a way, it was helping you and then helping other people.
Totally, totally. So I haven't mentioned it, but when I was pregnant, I experienced really hectic uh, prenatal depression, and it came out of nowhere. I'd never really experienced depression before, or I had, but it was always managed through exercise.
Okay.
And I didn't realize that I was exercising 5 days a week. And so my like endorphins would have been, like through the roof, like I was doing very well. But then getting pregnant and not getting those daily endorphins,
Right.
like my mood just went so low.
Right.
And I essentially at one point I didn't think that I should be a mum. I didn't think, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Mm.
But it was dark, like up until meeting Spence, my child, like literally when I gave birth,
Yeah.
I thought he'd be better off with another family. Like I honestly wanted to adopt him out until I met
Right.
him. And so Montessori was, for me, it was through my research, like stage, I guess, being pregnant, of, well, how do I not screw him up, essentially, that
Yeah.
I just Montessori. And then I was like, whoa, people need to know about this. Why isn't this mainstream?
Do you know, this is a very real fear that you've just shared. So thank you for being raw and so open about it, because it doesn't come with a manual and everybody's experience is different. So wanting to know it that badly, or like, especially if you're someone that normally excels and have that achiever mentality, and well, I read these books or I do this course and I can get the grades, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'm going to do this, but I didn't feel adequately prepared to do it. So now you can
100%.
people to do that. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so funny you say that, because that definitely is a beautiful articulation of my personality. And I've always been so good at school, like, got scholarships, early admission to uni, like all of that stuff. And that was so closely tied to my identity that
Mm,
I didn't realize, like it was unconscious.
right.
Um, but then going into a new role, motherhood, and I was like, evolution kind of depends on this role, and yet no one knows what they're doing. No wonder the world's so messed up. Like, how do we make this process better?
Yeah, I picked up on that because that's the human psychology in me. Okay.
Yeah.
So looking doing what you're doing now, and taking like a step back, what's the one thing you'll say to somebody who is considering a career change, and really trying to move into their purpose of wanting to make the world a better place, or something that is better aligned with them? What would you say to them?
Mm. So I think my biggest learning has been, actually, it doesn't matter what it is that you do or how you do it. What most matters is knowing what your why is. And so for me, I always knew what my why was, but I was focusing all my energy for as long as I can remember on the how and the what,
Okay.
and never getting anywhere, because actually you can utilize your why in any number of ways, and all of those avenues that you've decided to take are, are in line now with your purpose. And so it's not like you're being locked into something forever. Like,
Yeah.
we're humans, we're always changing and we're always wanting to do new things. So don't worry about it, just connect with why it is, like why you think you're here, and
Yeah.
how you think you can make the most of the skill set that you have, and then go and do it.
And go and I love that. That is so liberating, and I like that it came from you rather than me, because I preach about this all the time, and it came because a career is another avenue, a how to do your why. Just like you could do it in any other form, whether it's a volunteer work or as a charity or whatever. But when you know the why, you can express it in different forms. So I like that you're saying your career just needs to be tied to your why, and you can go do it and have that strong.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think you like people can it is easy to kind of get caught up in like, well, what is my purpose, and almost like being too not narrow-minded, that sounds the wrong word, but like trying to get too pinpointed into what that actually means. And I think it's so much bigger than that. It's like whatever that pinpoint is, that's just one avenue of expression.
Right.
It always ladders back to a reason why you're here. And I feel like it's going to be different for everyone. And that's great. Thank God it is, because otherwise, like, how would we all be doing our work?
Wow. Thank you, Jane. That was super impactful. And I'm so pleased that you agreed to do this and for sharing your story in such a real and authentic way. I think this is going to really touch a lot of people. So thank you for being here and for doing that.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me. It's been fun.
It has. See you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye. That was really good. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. It was fun.
It was. It was really good and natural. I liked, like, I really identified with it. It's one thing to like talk about it from just a work point of view, but when you meet someone that is doing it, it's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, no, agreed and ditto, which is why when I like first saw your post on, like, I don't even know what group it was, it really resonated with me instantly, and I was like, oh wow, I just feel like I need to do this, even though I'd never offered to anyone ever before, but I was like, I just feel like I'm supposed to.
And I think your interview is supposed to reach like lots of people. There's for each interview I do, there's a different angle of coming at it, but the same thing, and career changes is different for a lot of people and for different reasons too, but it's all valid, and it helps when you've seen somebody do exactly what you're doing. Like, oh, okay, so they had been this overachiever and then it came into this, or actually, well, I think someone that I did before was a doctor, but she'd been in ICU in New York for 80 hours all the time, and now she'd moved all the way into Europe to have a practice, but she didn't. So it was a career change, but how she did it, so that she only have like an appointment only system, and she wasn't like hitting herself with like ridiculous hours, and it's just impressive to see what people are doing or how they're doing it.
Yeah, yeah,
Life.
figuring it out. No, totally. And I think for me as well, I didn't mention in our interview, but like for me, the progression to Montessori almost came about as trying to understand why, like, not why I was the way I was, but like I was this overachiever, and I had identified with my career for so long, and like, why was that? And I was like, it's not really healthy. And so then like looking into or learning about conditioning, I mean, I already knew, but you know what I mean? Like you kind of take the steps back.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Montessori is all about. It's like being just conscious parenting essentially, and like recognizing that unless you're considering what you're doing, you are doing something. You just don't realize that you're doing it. Whereas you can make a choice to do something that you want to do.
Yeah, for sure. Either way you condition them, it's just how you're conditioning them is
Exactly.
one.
Don't be a unicorn in a straitjacket.